I wanted Gachagua to answer me so that I could understand what he means. For example, I've been talking about watu wa Mrima. He has never talked about the Kikuyu. I know when you talk about the Kikuyu, you talk about watu wa Nyumba. Something like that. So what's the difference between watu wa Mrima and watu wa Nyumba? Because if you talked about watu wa Mrima, does it mean the residents of the area of Mount Kenya, or does it mean the Kikuyu tribes? Because in my area in Busia, in a village, we have an MCA who is a Kikuyu, elected by people who are not Kikuyus. We have a Kalenjin who is an MCA, elected by people who are not Kalenjins. So when you talk about what Mrima, does he include Peshmat Maina, who is an MCA in Busia? Or is Peshmat Maina not Mutu Mrima? There are things that we need to clarify before we just cluster things. So those were the things that we wanted to answer. And for me, the answer to that question was very fundamental because I was being accused of tribalism. And if we meant that what Mrima included the two MCAs in Kiambu who are Luos, it includes Luos who are in Nyeri, it includes Luos who are wherever, Somalis who are wherever within that catchment called Mount Kenya, the EACC to the courts. So the president is immune, he can't be taken, and that's why they say to deal with him, you deal with him politically. And that immunity is given so that he's not bogged down in court by very many cases. So he's supposed to focus on the ability to rule, and to whom a lot is given, much more is expected. That's why that place, their constitution is framed in that ways. Now when you come down to the deputy president, he does not have immunity from law enforcement. So when you now come to remove him by impeachment, you cannot apply the same thresholds that are given for the president to an ordinary Kenyan whose only privilege is that he's a president in waiting should anything happen to the office holder. But it's an ordinary Kenyan. So that's why it was very important that before Parliament did anything, we should have come up with a modification. How are we going to modify the procedure of impeaching the president so that it could apply to impeaching the deputy president? That for me was very fundamental. So we impeached the deputy president using a standard for impeaching the president. Totally unacceptable. And why is it unacceptable? That standard for impeaching the president allows you to bring in matters of criminal nature. You can throw anything at the president. You can throw the kitchen sink at the president. It allows you. But for the deputy president, you cannot. And he's a state officer. So, what required to be given, and when you look at Article 27 of the Constitution, it talks about equality before the law. So when you came to the president, now, those charges that you had, most of them were about the president, the deputy president, having done what? Engaged that they acquired property that could not be explained. Some even went as far as including the family issues that he had made a fake will and sort of stolen the wealth of his late brother. Yes, those are bad things. But because the president is not, the deputy president is not immune from whatever, I would have expected those things to go to the police, to the EACC, the DPP. There was the issue of tribalism, hate speech. All that these are things that are prohibited by law. We've got bodies that could deal with that. He could go and they have this commission, integrate whatever it's called, the cohesion and whatever commission. There are all those things there. So you should have gone there. And after that, then you could deal with the vice president if those processes were to establish anything and what have you. But just to come here and begin screaming and shouting and banging pots and tables and whatever, and then chasing somebody like he's a fox or somebody that has captured a chicken, is not acceptable. You know, those kind of things come when where I come from in Western Kenya. They have got various names, but from my area they call it Nawawa. Some people call it Nyawawa. Some people call it. People just wake up one day and begin screaming. Then you come, they begin banging pots and whatever, and they're chasing evil spirits. This thing used to be those people around the lake who are familiar with the folk tales of Navirie for my people. Then you have got Sumba, who claimed that Navirie was the wife of Sumba, the spirit, and she ran away, and Sumba is trying to capture her, and she had come and gotten a home within the secret societies of women, giving them the ability to be healers and stuff. And so Sumba wanted his wife back, and when he rises, when they see that whirlwind rise in the Lake Victoria, they think Sumba is organizing an army to come and capture Navirie. So Navirie's followers go into a frenzy and begin screaming all over, and everybody screams, and the entire area, everybody is screaming to chase Sumba back into the lake. We can't apply that in a constitutional framework. This is not Nyawawa. This was dealing with a vice president of a republic, and the constitution was very clear that we needed to modify the procedure for removing the president so that it could apply to the deputy president in a very favorable way, in a way that we guarantee him. Because when you go to Article 25, Clause C, it says the right to a fair trial cannot be denied. Among the constitution, all everything is allowed you can do, but the right to a fair trial cannot be denied. So when the vice president, the deputy president fell sick and requested that he should be allowed time to be attended to by doctors, then even comes back, there was nothing that stopped us from allowing him to do that. Anybody can fall sick. None of us have the expertise of medicine. Even those who have got a medical background did not have the patient to examine and say, this guy is faking it. Because the verdict we gave was that the Honorable Gachagua was faking it. And so, we denied him the right to a fair trial, which the Constitution itself says cannot be denied. And even for the president, it says the president shall appear before this and that. Number two, there was this discussion about timelines and what have you. But when Parliament elected to, when the Senate elected to try the deputy president through a plenary and not a committee, we cannot begin carrying the timelines that the Constitution gives to a committee back into the plenary. And it's very simple. The committee is made of 11 people. So when they give you 10 days, 11 people will have a chance to talk to this guy and everybody will have a chance to ask. When you go to plenary way, it means all the 67 senators must have a chance to address the issue if they want to do. And so you cannot take the 10 days until you are time bound. And the Constitution did not give, the drafters of the Constitution did not give any timelines for that section whereby you don't go by committee. So any timelines that you could have to apply then would have to go to Article 259 Clause 8, which says that if the Constitution doesn't prescribe a timeline for doing something, the thing must be done in the most reasonable time available. Impeachments in some countries take even 2 months because you are determining the fate of somebody. So as much as it's a political process, and at the end of the day, the crimes are voted on and people take decisions. Sometimes people are even whipped by their parties to take positions. But the person must be heard. And so to deny Gachagua a chance to be heard, there are questions I listed about 18 questions